come to the floor to speak about an unnecessary distraction. While there is a fast-moving target toward North Korea by the boisterous words that have been coming out of the White House so that we might enter into an accidental war with North Korea. And all I will say about that is, I don't know if the White House, the commander-in-chief, has been to the DMZ, but I have. And I've looked a North Korean soldier in the eye, and that is what our soldiers do every day on that DMZ, standing in the gap. And boisterous, attacking, incredulous language only will lead us into an incidental war or accidental war. I further want to indicate that if there's ever a bill, among others, that continues to speak to Americans from all backgrounds, minorities in particular, that you're not prepared to address the health care of people who are in desperate need with precondition that have pre-existing condition, it is, though well-meaning, the Graham-Cassidy bill, another false attempt to undermine the Affordable Care Act. And having met with health professionals today, I will tell you, between diabetes and sickle cell, kidney disease, prostate cancer, they cannot afford the Graham-Cassidy bill. Get on with it. Support the Affordable Care Act, because it becomes a race issue. The predominant numbers of individuals impacted by prostate cancer, diabetes, are African Americans. And so I want to ask what is going on in this atmosphere of the commander-in-chief. I try to understand it, because from my perspective, this is a dangerous ground. And it's particularly dangerous in setting the tone on the whole issue of race in America. Who is the guiding force of setting the tone for race in America? It is, in fact, the leader of this country. It is disappointing that the words that were said by the White House, this president, does not recognize that African Americans have been in the United States military. It does not recognize that, in fact, we are the most patriotic group. And in being patriotic, we take no back seat to the respect we have for the flag. And I came down to the floor so that I could be standing behind the flag. My back is to the flag. Am I protesting the flag? Am I burning the flag? I abhor burning the flag. I abhor the destruction of the flag. But I respect silent protests. It bothers me that the one that is so boisterous would have top advisors and cabinet picks that have histories of prejudice. A person who leaves the country denied responsibility of racist incidents that followed his election. He launched a travel ban on targeting Muslims. He attacked the Muslim Gold Star parents. He claimed a judge was biased because he's a Mexican American. The Justice Department sued his company twice for not renting to black people. This is not a mirage, or this is not a rumor. These are facts. In fact, discrimination against black people has been a pattern throughout this leader's life. He refused to immediately condemn the white supremacists who advocated for him. He questioned whether President Barack Obama was born in the United States, not for 1 year, but year after year after year, to the point that I was embarrassed for the former president of the United States, not him. He treats racial groups as monoliths. He trashed Native Americans, encouraged the mob anger that resulted in the wrongful imprisonment of 5 young minority boys in the tragedy of the Central Park rape. They were not guilty. And he took out a full-page ad in the New York Times wrongly and asked for their execution, the death penalty, to those who are not guilty. He condoned the beating of Black Lives Matter protesters. He called supporters who beat up a homeless Latino man passionate. He stereotyped Jews and shared an anti-Semitic image created by supremacists. And so now we defend him even more. Now we suggest that he's playing to his base, that it's okay, that there are people who believe in what he's saying. There's a percentage of Americans who believe that we should not kneel during the national anthem. These are nothing but things that represent democracy. Democracy is living and breathing. It is in your heart, your mind, your soul. I am an American because of her values. And the national anthem was written by a man, and we sing it with pride. But it is not God. The flag is not God. It is a symbol of the democracy and the Constitution and the freedom of speech that is given. Let me be very clear. None of those football players and others desecrated the flag. They did not spit on it. They did not burn it. They did not desecrate it. And so I came tonight to suggest that there are still two Americas, because it does not seem that there is any understanding of the heroism of people of color, and I have to talk particularly about African Americans who served in the United States military. Crispus Attucks was an iconic patriot. Engaging in a protest in 1770, he was shot by Royal soldiers in the Boston Massacre. Does the White House know Crispus Attucks? Does he know those who have come through the ages that fought for the Union in the Civil War? And yet, in doing so, the treatment of African Americans continued to be dastardly violent into the lynchings of the 1900s, and yet we remain patriotic. And all we ask is the doors of opportunity be opened and that our leaders respect us. And so let me say to those that don't understand that the First Amendment does not in any way define do stand for the national anthem and the flag. There is nothing in the law that indicates that these individuals are desecrating the flag. And I join with the statements of Commissioner Roger Goodell. I join with the statements of the Texans by Bob McNair. I joined with the Seattle statement, the most potent statement, that talks about the fact that these individuals have a right to express themselves. But I do not join with the president that would say, wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a B off the field, out, he's fired, he's fired. And I joined with our NFL. Do you know what you're saying? You are talking about African American mothers. You are calling them a son of a B. You're calling those children's mother, single mothers sometimes, mothers who have fought to overcome to get their children where they could be. And these boys, and I'm going to call them that, these young men who have gone out to the community and tried to be of good conscience, you have said that their mother is a son of a B. That is racist. And if you don't understand that that is racist, as a mom, I come to this floor and I say to the mothers of those children, I love your sons. Thank you to the NFL and the owners who stood up. Thank you to those who are not African American, who joined with their fellow brothers on the field and knelt, not in desecration of the national anthem, not in desecration of the blood that was shed by the soldiers that are on battlefields, some of them supporting and shouting for those NFL in terms of the brotherhood. We will never dishonor our military. How can we? We are the military. We are everything. We're integrated into the American society. We simply ask for the dignity of respect, to not call our mothers a son of a B. And if they kneel, as I heard a young man who's an NFL player said that he will kneel from now on. And the only reason he's doing it is because someone had the lack of judgment to provoke the situation and call their mothers a name. I refuse to accept that as a standard of leadership for the highest office in the world. And even if you never understand it, sir, if you never understand it, if you think you're playing to your base, if you're not the unifier, we will continue to stand in the gap, and racism is going to be under our foot. And you know where else it's going to be? It's going to be under our knee. Because we in the Congressional Black Caucus have always stood for what is right. And the First Amendment, there is no basis in the First Amendment that says that you cannot kneel on the national anthem or in front of the flag. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of press. Prohibition against abridging freedom of speech applies to Congress and state and local governments through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Speech may be abridged in two distinct ways: directly by regulating content of speech, by indirectly by regulating time, manner, and place. And so you cannot abridge by standing up with tweets. And you cannot abridge without law and regulation. And there is no regulation that says that these young men cannot stand against the dishonoring of their mothers by you calling them "fire the son of a bee." You tell me which of those children's mothers are a son of a bee. That is racism. You cannot deny it. You cannot run for it. And I kneel in honor of them. I kneel in front of the flag and on this floor. I kneel in honor of the First Amendment. I kneel because the flag is a symbol for freedom. I kneel because I'm going to stand against racism. I kneel because I will stand with those young men, and I'll stand with our soldiers, and I'll stand with America because I kneel.
Has expired.
I yield back.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities toward the President and to direct their remarks to the Chair. What purpose does the gentleman from